Can everybody please rise for the flag salute? Oh, I'm sorry, I've called the meeting to order. And I'm flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Egress. In the event of an emergency, all people may exit right or left from this room and proceed to an exit door. All doors will open from the inside. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Haledon Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published in the North Jersey Herald News, the board's official newspaper, on January 10th, 2024. Notices of this meeting indicating date, time, and place were posted publicly on the door of the main entrance to the school and filed with the clerk in the municipality of Haledon. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi. Mr. Coletta.
Present.
Ms. Quadrado.
Present.
Mr. Guzman.
Here.
Mr. Martinez.
Here.
Mr. Matzo.
Here.
Mr. Ramadan.
Here.
Dr. Webb.
Here.
And Mrs. Issa.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept correspondence?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Ramadan, seconded by Mr. Motzko. Roll call, please.
Mr. Coletta.
Yes.
Ms. Quadrado.
Yes.
Mr. Guzman.
Yes.
Mr. Martinez.
Yes.
Mr. Matzo.
Yes.
Mr. Ramadan.
Yes.
Dr. Webb.
Yes.
Mrs. Issa.
Yes. Can I have a motion to accept prior minutes?
Motion. Second.
Moved by Mr. Ramadan, seconded by Mr. Martinez. Roll call, please.
Mr. Coletta.
Yes.
Ms. Quadrado.
Yes.
Mr. Guzman.
Yes.
Mr. Martinez. Mr. Matzo.
Yes.
Mr. Ramadan.
Yes.
Dr. Webb.
Yes.
And Mrs. Issa.
Yes. Okay, can I have a motion to open the floor to citizens on agenda items only?
So moved.
By Mr. Guzman, seconded by Mr. Motzko. Roll call, please. Oh, all in favor? Aye. Okay, the floor is open to the public on agenda items only. We'll start with anybody who's here present, and then if anybody online would like to address the board on agenda items only, please use your hand raising icon in the Zoom. Anybody? Anybody, Mr. Miller? Okay. Motion to close? Moved by Mr. Coletta, seconded by Mr. Martinez. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moving on to committee reports. So I will start. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back. I want to begin with school security. With the tragic school shooting in Georgia that senselessly took 4 lives, the shooting at a high school in our own backyard, and the increase in threats to schools via social media platforms, I'm aware that security is on every person's mind. I want to assure parents, families, and the community that our district always keeps school safety and security as an absolute top priority. However, in the light of recent events, the board and the Security and Safety Committee, along with Mr. Waka, have been reviewing our security policies and procedures and discussing if any updates or changes are needed at this time. I want to note that at public events at this school, Haledon police officers are always present. I also want to remind the community that the district employs an armed security director, a school resource officer from the Haledon Police Department, and a front desk security officer, all of whom follow strict protocol and are hyper vigilant when it comes to school safety and security. We also have the finest police department that makes it their priority to keep not just our town, but our school safe. And it goes without saying that our administration, teachers, and staff are all keeping watchful eyes on our students and on their own surrounding areas. These can be troubling times, but I have confidence that our security team, our police department, and our school staff are doing everything possible to keep our children safe and our buildings secured. And for that, I thank you most sincerely. Next, I want to thank Mr. Waka, Ms. Augustin, and especially the custodial staff for dealing efficiently with the pipe that burst in the cafeteria just 1 week into the new school year. While Director of Facilities Jermaine Mann and our custodial staff do a good job of maintaining our building and proactively addressing areas of concern, things like this can happen as parts of the school age. We're grateful that the problem was fixed as quickly as possible and without too much disruption to the student body. And we also thank our teachers and students who were affected for ensuring that the temporary change in routine went as smoothly as possible until the situation was remedied. It's hard to start off the school year with a snag like that, but their cooperation was very much appreciated. On a positive note, I'm happy to welcome our new parent liaison, Miss Alexandra Saharig, to the district. Ms. Saharig will be filling an important and unique role in providing information and resources to parents and guardians so that they can help their child succeed academically and socially, and so that they can become more involved in their child's education as well as the school community. The parent liaison will also serve as a bridge between parents and guardians and teachers and administrators, helping to build communication, rapport, trust, and collaboration. I hope parents will take advantage of the opportunities offered through this new position, which is focused specifically on assisting, informing, and educating them on topics and issues that are relevant and meaningful to their child's all-around well-being. And just to note that the position is fully funded through Title I funding, so there is no cost to the district. I stopped by to see Mrs. Saharig at back to school night, and she had a whole line of parents who were waiting to talk to her, and she was really welcoming. She was really professional, and I think she's going to be a really valuable resource to HPS families. So she's also running a series of virtual workshops this fall, and information has gone out to all parents. So, look out for that info. I think the first one is tomorrow evening, and don't miss out. Lastly, I want to thank Ms. Bracy and Mr. Savastano for their years of dedication and service to the students of Haledon Public School, and we wish them the best in their future endeavors. So we've had a couple of bumps to the start, but I am confident that this is going to be a great school year, and here we go. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Chief School Administrator, Mr. Walker.
So it has been a good school year. I want to kind of go off track a little bit and comment on your point about working with Haledon Police to procure officers for events and things like that. So I've been here at Haledon for quite a while now, and there's never been a time we haven't asked Chief or Deputy Chief to request for officers in an event. We've never had them say no. Like, they've only ever said yes, which is highly appreciated. And I'm a board member in a town where we don't get that same level of service. So it's something that I know I appreciate and we're grateful for. I'll start my report by talking about the matter that has been the impetus for the emails I sent the school community the past 2 days. We had received a screenshot of a social media post. The post was reviewed by us, and we're fortunate to have a full-time SRO agreement. So we shared it with the SRO, and it was investigated by both Haledon Police and by ourselves. I'm not going to speak much towards the post since it was vulgar, and I also need to be mindful that both student and staff confidentiality. Even though the post was determined to be a non-credible threat, we're lucky to have the kind of relationship we have with the HPP. And we appreciate Chief being willing to send extra units, on campus or nearby campus on Friday, just as a precautionary measure. We have not identified who created the post. It's often very difficult and usually takes a whole lot of time before it comes to light who might have made an online anonymous post. If we're able to identify who made the post, then we'll take appropriate action at that time. I imagine that some people would like to talk about that post, and I understand that, but due to the fact that there are student and staff confidentiality issues here surrounding this post, I'm not going to go further into details regarding this non-credible threat, but I do want to thank everyone that helped. And to Ms. Isa's board president, Isa's comment about the pipe that burst in the cafeteria. Like that could have been a major thing. If that had happened on like a Sunday afternoon and the water just had the whole day to populate the school, that would have been really bad news. It could have also happened in the summertime and we wouldn't have lost a caf for kids, so that would have been good news. But you know, to your point, we do have an older building, and there's two main water lines that supplied water to the building. A couple of years ago, one of them broke, and then this year the other one broke. So it looks like they're both fixed now. But when you have 1,000 kids and only one cafeteria, when you lose part of the cafeteria, that becomes a huge deal. But the assistant principals, the teachers, it wasn't a big deal for them because they're just that good, and they really are. I do have some good news, and that is that thus far this year alone, we've trained 90 different staff members in CPR. And that is something the health office and the administrative team thought would be a great thing to boost that aspect of our overall school safety. We still have about 30 more teachers signed up and waiting to get this. We're really excited of the enthusiasm they showed, and their training is scheduled for February. But I do want to thank Ms. Carr, Ms. Feggins, and Ms. Bolzano for their efforts in this, because that's something that's a great goal that, you know, we should strive towards, and it does help everybody. The third item is, I know that Ms. Isa had mentioned this last meeting, and I want to elaborate further. We kind of stemmed on this. We started this at the board retreat we had a couple months back, but the idea of using board meetings as an opportunity to present just how the operations works or issues pertinent to what we're doing here. So I'm looking forward to delivering the detailed step-by-step process of our hiring process at the next board meeting. I'll talk about how we do it, what our challenges are, and what's been different than it was in the past. And at that same meeting, I'm also going to present as required our state test scores from the last test we took in last spring. So we'll get the presentations for next board meeting. Item 4, the playground is back open, and that's a very good thing. It's a lot better to have kids go out there and have time to run around. I encourage the board to visit the area sometime, and you'll notice the new inclusive structures that are part of the playground. You'll also notice that we removed 3 trees from that area. The reason we did that was because the tree roots were one of the causes that the old matting had worn down. In order to keep the surface usable for as long as possible, we decided to remove those trees. The other main reason that the rubber had worn down was because our school truck would go across the playground in order to get to the field, and that truck, the weight of the truck wasn't good for that rubber. In order to fix that, we decided to create a concrete pathway from the playground to the field. So we think that'll help protect the rubber, and that's why the front of the playground still looks like it's kind of in progress mode. It's because it still is. Our main expansion project is set to be completed, the one that's going on that side of the building, within the next month. Once we get we'll get the exact date very soon, and I'll work with the board president and the LAMICA to set up a dedication, groundbreaking type event. We will move into these spaces the first week of November. And this is exciting because once we open this area, our final preschool classroom section size will go to 105. And that's a huge bit of progress. When I was first principal here, my first year, we had 30 total preschool seats. For this board to get to 105, it shows your commitment towards, you know, early childhood learning and helping out those parents in the community. So we're very proud of that. And the last project I'm working on, I didn't want to jump into this while 2 other fairly major construction projects are going on. But once these 2 projects wrap up, and that's going to be soon, we're going to look to redesign the front entrance, and I'll talk about that more at future board meetings. But we're going to look to make it where you can walk in one door, but to get to the next set of doors, that's where we kind of have our roadblock on that, provided you pass all the security settings. So that's something we're going to look to work on, and you know, it's going to be great when we get that. So that's my report tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Board members, do you have any questions for Mr. Walker? Okay, thank you. Ms. Augustin, Business Administrator.
Thank you, Madam President. My report is mainly the resolutions that are on the finance team. I just want to highlight some of them. But before I start, just wanted to remind everyone who is attending the conference. It's just October 21st and 24th. If there's any last minute changes, please let me know. This is I think I have up until Friday to make any last minute changes, so please make me aware of anything that needs to be. And also remember that our October meeting is October 9th instead of the 24th. We did have to reschedule that because of the convention. On the agenda, in the personnel section, even though this is not directly under finance, I just wanted to make note that there was a revised grant that was granted to Mr. Kyle for the STEM teacher for the non-public school. It was originally $12,000, and the state sent us back an increase once they did the final application. So that we're just revising or approving this STEM grant that we approved from a previous agenda. We also have our shared service technology agreement that we need to approve this year. This is mainly the agreement to have a shared service with Manchester regarding any technical services, including supplies, for the overtime or any special projects. The finance section, we have 12.4 and 12.5. These are some items that are related to the new construction. We have surveillance cameras and also speakers for the new addition that we will be finalizing the technology portion of. From resolutions 12.6 to 12.8, we have Northern Eastern. This is our construction company, and the payment application along with some change orders for unforeseen construction items that needed to be approved. And I believe the 12.15, we have our threshold affidavit increase. Usually when we send out our purchase orders, vendors will have to sign off on vouchers over a certain limit. We just wanted to establish the bid threshold that lines up with the state. So we have 50% of our GPA amount of $44,000 that we can approve without a vendor signature. So that will be a change that you'll see on the bills, especially those who signed off on the bills. Anything that's over $6,600 will require a vendor signature. So that we're changing that, and I'll make you guys more aware of that in the future. Okay.
Coming up, okay.
And that's all I have. If there's any questions specifically.
Any questions from Ms. Augustine, board members? Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's move on to personnel and management. Mr. Guzman.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. Agenda item.
Curriculum and technology, Dr. Webb.
Good evening, everyone. Agenda items on.
Okay, policy and public relations, Mr. Martinez.
Agenda items.
Okay, security and safety, Mr. Guzman.
We had a security and safety committee meeting prior to this meeting. It was a very productive meeting. Unfortunately, I can't share what we discussed because most of it's confidential. But in light of everything that's been going on, I want to thank our chief of police, my boss, Angela Danielle, for being here. With that being said, agenda items.
Thank you. Community engagement, Mr. Motzko.
Agenda items only.
Okay, and finance and physical plant, Mr. Motzko.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to apologize for my delay, lateness. I'd like to pass it over to Commissioner Mr. Ramadan, who was at the meeting today.
Good evening, everybody. We met tonight to discuss some of the bills, but with the agenda items only.
Thank you.
Thank you. For state and county, there are a few updates. I think I mentioned one of these in the last meeting. The NJSBA's Fall Labor Summit is taking place on October 1st. If anybody's interested in attending, it's in person, it's in Trenton. They're going to be going over things like governmental relations, a legislative update, a legal update, labor negotiating updates, and public relations surrounding labor relations. So there's an email. That email goes out regularly if anybody wants to register for that. That's 3 Board Academy credits. There is NJSBA is hosting an in-person regional candidates briefing to address the structure and responsibilities of local school boards in New Jersey. So candidates running for their local school boards in the November election can attend this free program, and that's on October 16th from 7 to 8:30 at Elmwood Park Memorial High School. And there's the SBA's Fall School Law Forum, and that's going to be taking place. That's actually going to be taking place during workshop in Atlantic City, but you have to register separately for that one. So if anybody wants to attend that one, you have to register separately from the workshop, and that's going to be on Thursday, October 24th, from 9 to 4. So that's all I have for state and county. Any questions? Okay, and then I will pass it, Mr. Merlino.
No.
Okay, all right. So let's go back to personnel and management. Mr. Guzman?
Yes, Madam President, I would like to move item 7.1 through 7.3.
Second.
So moved by Mr. Guzman, seconded by Mr. Musco. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi,
Yes.
Mr. Coletta,
Yes, I do have a question. If we can follow, this is the first time I've seen two people from the same department resign at the same time. Can we look into Mr. Waka to see if there's something's going on? Because there's two separate math teachers that resigned at the same time, and I haven't seen that in my time.
Yeah, this, I know them both, if I could say this, they both got promotions, in upward mobility, something that, we're proud of for our staff. So, good for them. We wish them the best going forward.
Did you vote, Mr. Coletta?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mr. Dorado,
Yes.
Guzman,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez.
Yes.
Mr. Matzo,
Yes.
Mr. Ramadan,
Yes.
Dr. Webb.
I guess I just have one question regarding that. How are we looking with the staff?
So right now we're fully staffed. We were able to replace 7.3. For 7.2, we're still it's a very specialized degree, so it's going to be we're still working on. I'm going to get a report Friday from our director of special services with a plan where we're at, but that's where we're at.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Thanks.
Mrs. Issa.
Yes. Okay, curriculum and technology, Dr. Webb?
I'd like to move 8.1 through 8.7.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Webb, seconded by Mr. Motzko. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi,
Yes, but I do just want to point out that for the removal of 8.3, if that comes up again, can we, if this gets reintroduced, I'd like more information on that program before we put it up for a vote.
It's a great comment, Commissioner Bassi. That was something that there was some questions about that were asked of me that I didn't have the answer to at the time. So that's why it was pulled, and based on, I guess, my initial analysis of what the answer is, I'll determine whether I still want to put that on an agenda, but right now it's still TBD.
Okay, I guess like my one question was going to be, is there a need for it? I know part of it was about healthy relationships and avoiding high risk behaviors, but is that something that's not already accounted for in the curriculum for health, especially for like the middle schoolers and the like 7th and 8th graders?
Yeah, to your point, the answer is yes. But I kind of want to go through a whole bunch of questions with that to see if this is something we want to, look to provide our students or look to pass on.
All right, but thank you for removing it. Because I was going to have some serious questions on it without having more information, but otherwise, yes.
Mr. Coletta,
Yes.
Mr. Dorado,
Yes.
Mr. Guzman,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Matzo,
Yes.
Mr. Ramadan,
Yes.
Dr. Webb,
Yes.
Mrs. Issa.
Abstain on 8.7 and yes for the rest. Okay, policy and public relations, Mr. Martinez,
I'd like to move 9.1 and 9.2, please. Second.
moved by Mr. Martinez, seconded by Dr. Webb. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi,
Yes, and if there's if anybody has any additional feedback on 9.2, please let us know at the policy committee if everyone's in favor of it. I think I highlighted everything in bold blue that was new based on the discussion we had in the last meeting. And we've, striked out a couple of small sections just as we reworded certain things. But, if everybody's okay with this, I'd assume this would be in effect January 1st for the next calendar year. and we did, get, some, just in terms of what the bylaw number would be, that was kind of cleared with stress out as well, as other districts have had similar policies. And it's gonna basically almost be a standardized section of the bylaw. So just putting that out there, yes, for me on both 9.1 and 9.2, over.
Mr. Coletta,
Yes.
Mr. Prado,
Yes.
Mr. Guzman,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Matzo,
Yes.
Mr. Ramadan,
Yes.
Dr. Webb,
Yes.
and Mrs. Sisson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent. And I do want to thank the policy committee and especially Mr. Abbasi for working on that new policy.
Great job.
Okay, so nothing here. Okay, so finance and physical plant, Mr. Motzko.
I'd like to pass it to Mr. Ramadan.
Okay, motion to move 12.1 to 12.18.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Ramadan, seconded by Mr. Motzko. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbasi,
I'm sorry, I do have a couple questions, and it's probably something you covered with me before I got here, because you usually do that. Two quick questions for 12.4 and 12.5. Those are not part of the construction budget, correct? That's separate?
it is
For the-
part of the capital budget that was already budgeted for, in anticipation of purchasing these things. It was in the budget for last year.
Okay, but it's not part of the budget that's reflected in 12.9 specific for the addition project.
It's in the technology capital budget. that
Okay.
it's Budgeted for.
Okay, and then the second question was on 12.9. So cumulative today, we're at about 4.5. And then so there's only a little bit of room left there. Are we on track to be within budget
Yes, we
for
are.
that addition project?
Yes, we
Okay.
are.
Okay, and 12.10, that hip hop school assembly for like kids up to 4th grade, can I come? It sounds cool, sounds pretty cool.
Do you know how to do hip hop dances?
No, I know, I want to observe, I don't want to participate.
Well, January 6th, man, you want to come hang out, we're happy to have you.
Yes on everything.
Mr. Coletta,
Yes, I just had a question with respect to 12.5. I didn't really understand what, if we have just more information. I asked Mr. Walker, he said best to ask you.
these are speakers for the new edition so that you can hear announcements and other things about the school. You said 12.5, right?
I'm sorry, 12.15, the signed, the threshold for signed affidavit. Signed
Yeah, that was what I didn't know, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Sorry, 12.15.
So when we do our purchase orders, we require the vendors to sign off on a certain amount so that they can verify that they agree with the price of the purchase order. Usually, since I've started, it has been $150 or more. Statutorily, we have up to $6,600 that we can require to process a payment without a vendor signature. So we're following the statutory recommendation of the $6,600, and because I'm a QPA, we are allowed to go up that number. Okay.
Good. I just didn't understand. Thank you. Yes.
Mr. Dorado,
For 12.18, I'd like to abstain from purchase order 500431, and yes for everything else.
yes.
Can you say that?
No, I got it.
Yeah.
I meant to say I have 500. Mr. Guzman,
My vote is yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Mox,
Yes.
Mr. Ramadan,
Yes.
Dr. Webb,
Yes.
and Mrs. Zissou.
Abstain on 12.11 and yes on the rest.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do we have any new or old business? Okay. Can I have a motion to open the floor to citizens on operation of schools?
So moved.
Second.
So moved by Mr. Guzman, seconded by Ms. Quadrado. Roll call, please. Or is it all in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So the floor is open. I'm going to ask if there's anybody in the public who wants to, I'm sorry, anybody online who wants to speak, please use the hand raising feature to indicate that you would like to speak. State your name, your address. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. And I think that's it. Is there anybody? No? Nobody? Oh, yeah, Chief, please.
First and
Thanks for
foremost,
coming,
good
Chief.
evening, everyone. If you don't know who I am, Chief Angelo Daniele, I help the police department. Give you a little background. I'm just a borough attorney. I've been here for 28 years. Hill is like my second home. But when I became in charge of the department, especially as chief of police, our number one was the schools. Number one was the schools between Haledon Public and Manchester. We brought back the SROs, one here at Haledon Public and one at Manchester. Our SRO is actually sitting here to my right, Detective Zeta. He's up at Manchester High School. School safety has always been our priority. That was the first thing that we attacked, was the school safety. I am aware of the incident that had happened as far as the social media posting. We've dealt with this before in the past between Haledon Public School and Manchester. Speaking to Detective Zeta, who's on the case, was speaking to the prosecutor's office today about this, and the prosecutor's office literally said to him, this is probably the 5th or 6th one that we've gotten in the past 2 or 3 days. So it continuously happens all over the world, all over the state, with people or children that are on social media sites, and they're basically commenting on committing acts of terrorism or threats or anything like that. But I assure you, we are absolutely on top of it. Unfortunately, we can't say much to the public. Confidential, put the cases in jeopardy if we post or comment on social media, because everybody reads it. Somebody might comment, some evidence might be covered up, and but I can assure you, our detectives are working. I have 6 detectives, active detectives. 2 of them are juvenile detectives, and they're both working on it as we speak. So hopefully we can find out who it is once we get the information back, and we can bring the person to justice. And obviously, if they're a student here at school, we'll handle it with also Mr. Waka as far as in-house as well too. But this is nothing new to us, folks. We dealt with this plenty of times. Snapchats, Instagram, Facebook. Right now, it doesn't need to be critical at all. Most of the time, we've all watched the news before. We're seeing things happen in the world. They're never announced. Nobody's going to go on social media and say, I'm going to rob the TV bank on Friday at 2 o'clock p.m. They just go rob the bank. First school shooting. So most of the time, it's unannounced. So with that said, that's why we're always ready. We're always ready we prepare for the worst and we hope for the best. So I can assure you, we are absolutely on top of it. Deputy Chief Guzman contacted me immediately when this post came out, as well as my detectives, and stopped at our tracks. And we handled that immediately because we have zero tolerance for that stuff. We were actually arrested several people throughout the years at Manchester High School between bomb threats, Snapchats with guns, fake guns, and we brought them to justice. So we have zero tolerance for that stuff. We want to make sure everybody comes to school safe, everybody goes home, whether it's the kids, the students, the staff, everything like that. So if anybody ever needs anything, you know how to get in touch with me, myself or Deputy Chief Guzman, and we're here for you folks. So I don't know if anybody has any questions for me.
Chief, I just want to say, number one, thank you, not only for, for all that your department's done, but I think it was a really good civic service for you to come here tonight and just say what you said, because we have a lot of people on Zoom, that are watching this, and that reinforcement of that message, I think, is important for everyone to hear. And it's been an absolute pleasure working with your department in every single way we've worked together. So thank you.
And by us catching the person, like I'll give you an example. We had a bomb scare up at Manchester about 2 or 3 years ago, and we traced the phone and found out how it was. Not that we make an example of the person, but we arrested them, and they were charged accordingly. Now, we got no bomb threats after that. Because they see that we're not playing around, it's not a game, so we'll see exactly who it is. Sometimes it could be somebody as a fifth grader, it could be an eighth grader. Who knows? Could be a teacher, it could be a parent. We don't know until we get more information back, with the cell phone companies. and stuff
We
like that,
appreciate it.
social media, so.
Yeah, we thank you.
All right, folks, thank you.
All right,
Have a good
thank
night.
you.
Thank you, Chief Damian. I just
Thank
want
you.
to echo what Mr. Walker said. Thanks for coming and for your officers for coming because it, I think, of course, parents are worried, they're concerned. And it puts our minds at ease to know that, the Hamilton PD is right there on top of things. So, and working with the school, we appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Turner, go ahead. Oops.
I think the concern is the communication. I was emailed to the parents. I think the communication lacks, and I've said before, needs to improve times 100. I emailed Waka back at 4 o'clock. I didn't get any response until 12:30 today. This doesn't make the parents feel better that we're not getting a response, especially since you have a parent liaison who, I don't know who sent out the first email, but the date was wrong, which was pointed out. We need to do better with communication. We need to do better with our safety for our children, and we need to do better for our teachers as well. And we also need to keep in mind that what the parents are feeling is because of what was issued out. It's not because, Hamilton PD isn't doing their job. We're not saying that. What we're saying is the communication between the staff and the parents is not there. It's not landing. It makes us nervous to bring our kids to school. We just had a shooting in Tech, which is up the block. It's reasonable for the parents to be upset or concerned or have anxiety to send their kids to school. There was someone at Kennedy last year with a gun. So therefore, it's not like, oh, we're Hamilton and it's not going to happen. There's guns all over the place. We're trying to keep our kids safe. We're trying to get our kids educated. We need to do better with communication. Period.
Anybody else before we close the floor? Mr. Miller, anybody
Yes.
else? Oh,
How you doing? My name is Detective Sergeant Chris Pablo. I'm part of the investigative unit in the Hamilton Police Department. Unfortunately, Detective Lieutenant Timothy Limber couldn't be here today. This is Detective Omar Sadeh, as the chief said. Just want to piggyback a little bit off of what the chief said. Again, it's not a matter of us not trying to be transparent with our investigation. It's just there's certain things right now that it's still in the early stages of us trying to figure things out. And the reason I'm here is because I want to make sure that obviously all the parents that are online and listening to this, just because we're in the early stages of our investigation doesn't mean that any other information that you guys can provide us, we're not going to listen to. So if you guys have anything out there, if your kids are telling you anything, you guys want to provide it to our police department, please give us a call. Obviously, our phone number is 973-790-4444. Just ask for anybody in the investigative division, and they'll forward it up to us. And obviously, we also provide you with our email addresses. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Like I said, it's not that we're not trying to be transparent. There's just certain things we have to withhold just to make sure that the integrity of the investigation stays where it's at.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
I know some of you guys. I had Mr. Waka. When I actually went to Hamilton Public School and graduated in 2010, just to reiterate it again, I'm Detective Zada. I'm the school resource officer up at Manchester. And I also graduated from Manchester in 2014. And I've actually been a Hamilton resident for almost 25 years now. So I say this just to try and I want to give some sort of assurance to the parents out there that we take this personally. I was actually just speaking with the chief, and he was describing how he loves working, and it doesn't even feel like a job for him. That sort of tone radiates throughout our department. I'm here, Detective Sergeant Pablo is here, and officers that are sitting out there are there because we truly enjoy our job and take it personally and want to do the best job that we can. So as much as I would like to divulge, exactly the resources we have at our disposal and we're using to investigate this matter to put you guys at ease, I can't do that. Recognizes the integrity of the investigation. Well, again, what I can tell you trying to share now is how much we feel with you guys. Me, myself being a resident and a former student here, and what that means to us and how hard that makes us work. So just know, since this threat has come up, we haven't stopped working on it. It's been our main concern, and we're doing everything possible. And we're very confident, based on our training and experience and the investigation so far, that we're going to come to a conclusion, and that even though we're deeming it as not necessarily that credible due to the circumstances, we're still treating it as a credible threat with heightened security and extra personnel and extra attention at Helder Public School. That's what I have to say, and I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, officers. Thank you so much. Anybody else?
I think
Okay,
Hello.
please state your name and your address. You have 3 minutes.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Ivy. My kids go to your school. I live on Aberdeen Court. I think a lot of the parents are really hung up on the communication when these things happen. And although it is important, I understand why there's a level of discretion because you don't want everybody to go into panic mode. I think the issue is just my opinion because I think you all guys are all doing a great job, especially you, Mr. Waka. We're really proud to have you as our principal. I think the big issue is the ongoing protocol. Like, I think the front door in the morning is an issue. It's wide open. There's one person standing there. Parents go all the way to the top because I drop my kid off and I stand at the door and I watch her go up and there's parents up there. You know, the other day, my kid ran out of the house with her Crocs and I was running late to the office. So I sent my mother to take her sneakers and she said she literally walked up. Nobody asked her for ID. And when my daughter saw her, she literally walked halfway into the hall to greet my daughter because my daughter was running to her. I think the everyday protocol, what are we doing to keep the kids, not only when threats come up, but every day? Like, there should be someone in the front, an officer in the front door in the morning, because I see them after school, but in the morning throughout the day, I think if once you cross the front door, you should be there only for business, to pick up your kid at the nurse or to take them out of the school early. And like, parents are all up there. Like, you don't really know what people are going through, if they're going through divorces or custody issues, and you know, they're in their emotions and they're trying to grab their kid. Who knows? It could be anything, you know? So that's my biggest concern, that every day I see a lot of parents. Like yesterday I went to pick up my daughter and I tried to close the door before the guy behind me tried to get by me, but he got by me. Like, who's at the front door? The security person who's there, who sees somebody come through, has to stop people. The guy in the front who just checks people in, like, you can't let people walk through. A lot of bad stuff is happening right now. And you know, the communication has been the topic of this whole thing, but I think everyday protocol, for me personally, please forgive me, I'm not trying to say you guys are not doing a good job because I know you guys work hard. It's a big school to manage, but the everyday protocol has a lot of holes. And, you know, when I leave my daughter and I see some guy at the top of the steps and I'm like, what is he doing up there? Why hasn't nobody stopped him? And when my mother can walk in and nobody asks her for an ID, like, that's not good. That's how people get into schools. That's how bad stuff happens. That's really all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Ms. Soto. We're gonna take all comments and then we will close the floor and we can address anything. Is there anybody else? I'm sorry, Mr. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Ramadan. Go ahead, Mr. Ramadan.
It shows it's muted.
Oh, can you unmute yourself?
Can you hear me? Or...
Yeah, now we can hear you. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Mohammed Ramadan, Council President for the Borough of Halden. I just want to say on behalf of Mayor Johnson and the entire governing body, the Borough of Halden remains committed to ensuring and providing all the resources possible to ensure that all students are safe, whether it's HPS or Manchester. The SRO program is probably one of the best programs we instituted within the two schools, and the Halden Police Department remains committed to ensuring the safety of everybody. I do encourage all of our residents to sign up for our NICS alerts. That's key to getting the proper information, but also at the same time to also remain patient as things are happening. As a former board member, I can understand that once information is coming in, you have to filter it out to ensure that it's the proper information getting out to the parents. Uh, Sergeant Coletta would understand that from a law enforcement perspective, and so would Deputy Chief Guzman. When things are coming in, the top priority of the district is to ensure that the students are safe and remain safe at all times, and then get the information out in a timely manner. That's the top priority always, and unfortunately, given the stuff that's happened across the country, uh, the Haledon Police Department remains committed to ensuring that our borough and both schools remain safe at all times. And like I said, the mayor and governing body is here for both districts to ensure that the safety remains a top priority.
Thank you, Mr. Ramadan. Thanks for those words. Is there anybody else, Mr. Miller?
No more hands.
No more. Okay. Oh, I just saw one go up.
Person meeting at L.
So, so you can speak, but please state your name and your address. Whoever has their hand raised, you're listed as L. Speak. You can speak.
They're muted too.
If you can unmute. One more time, we'll give you one more chance. If L, you have your hand raised, go ahead and unmute yourself and speak. Okay, I think we're just gonna move on. Is there anybody? Oh, did they unmute? No, they took their hand down. Okay. Is there anybody else, Mr. Miller?
That's it. That's it.
Okay, so could I have a motion to close the floor?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Martinez, seconded by Mr. Motzko. We can do all in favor. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so before anybody else addresses, I would like to address a couple of the comments. So regarding communication, specifically for this matter, there was nothing lacking. We found out this administration was alerted in the morning, and they followed proper protocol to find out, do initial investigation before any misinformation was sent out. And then by 1:45, before dismissal, an email had gone out. That's the proper channel. If parents didn't receive it, if it went to their spam mail or whatever the case may be, the email went out, and it was pretty detailed. You know, individual parents emailing Mr. Walker or whoever, you know, that's he's not going to be able to reply to every single parent immediately. So, but, and even, you know, I would say that, you know, you have to be careful with individual responses. This is a matter that's still under investigation. You know, the email that went out to everybody was the information that he was, you know, able to share. In general, I think the communication between the school and the community is very good. I think that's a strength. I heard in a couple of the comments that that's not the case, but there are numerous venues that are used, numerous channels. There's email, there's robocalls, there's text messages, there's social media. You know, and social media is, you know, it's a great tool, it's a great resource, but it's not it's not always the proper channel for communicating certain things. But in any case, we hear your comments about communication. We take that into consideration. That's always important. And I do think that, you know, the role of the parent liaison will help with that. With security, as far as doing better, I'll just reiterate, we have an armed security director. We have a school resource officer from the Haledon Police Department. We have a front desk security. We have an excellent relationship with the police department. We do pretty well. We cover that area pretty well. You know, and Mr. Walken mentioned, you know, I know Ms. Soto mentioned the front door. That's something that will be addressed in the future, you know, having that front door access be limited so that if they come in through the front door, they still can't get in through the door that goes into the school. That is something that's going to be addressed. And we're always looking to work on security, but it's pretty good here. We have better security than many other schools. So I just want to remind the community of that. You know, we have a good system in place, and there's always room for improvement. Nobody's perfect and nothing is perfect, but we have a pretty good system in place regarding communications and regarding security. So that's what I wanted to say. Do any other board members want to add anything?
Madam President?
Yes, Mr. Guzman.
And I promised that I wasn't gonna say it. I just want to say something real quick. As far as I'm concerned, you know, the Borough of Heldon, we're a family. You know, the residents, the police, the elected officials, you know, our students, the clergy, and we all have to coexist and we all have to work together. We're not all gonna like each other, we're not all gonna agree, but we all have to continue to work together because public safety is a shared responsibility. All right, if you see something, you have to say something. You know, the police can't solve everything. It takes a partnership. It takes all of us to come together and protect our community, protect our school, protect our streets. It's very important. As the Heldon Police Department, we have several officers that have students that attend Heldon Public School. I'm going to say something to everybody. I have a child that comes to the school too. He was here today. We have other officers that have their kids come to the school. They were here today. Okay, we have a vested interest in the school too. Rest assured that if the Heldon Police Department would have had any type of credible threat, we would have immediately locked down the school. All parents would have been notified. I just want to make that very clear. What we're investigating here is not a possible shooter on Friday. That has been deemed non-credible. That has been deemed to be a hoax. What we are investigating is who committed this hoax. But we're going to take every measure that we possibly can, from the county to the state to the federal authorities, to identify who is responsible. The chief of police is an executive board member of the Passaic County Chiefs of Police Association. He sits with members of the Office of Homeland Security, the Department of Homeland Security, national level, the FBI. Okay, unfortunately, we cannot reveal our investigative strategies, and we cannot reveal any information about an ongoing investigation. So I just want to make that very clear, that we are doing the best we can, and this school, our community needs everything, each officer. We have a couple officers here where when I saw, I said, please, I don't want to see no more officers show up. They all want to come because they care. They're here as a show of solidarity to the community, that they care. More are coming. No, that's it, please. Because we care. We have done so much to increase our capabilities, from ammunition, the list goes on. I can't reveal it because it's confidential. But we are prepared, and we are big on training, and we follow the pillars of 21st century policing. Building trust and legitimacy, community policing, officer wellness, leveraging technology, so on and so forth. So let's continue to stick together. Let's continue to remain united. And if you see something, please say something. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guzman. Anybody else? Any other board members?
Just want to thank the chief again for being here.
Thanks. Thank you to all the officers and to the public, you know, online and here in person. We thank you for being here and
And if we
attending.
can address that spam issue, because Mr. Walker did send out the email yesterday to all parents in the school community, and I did have parents reach out to me that didn't receive it, they checked their spam and it was in their spam. So they perhaps have to update on their end.
Yeah.
Right.
But whatever we can do on our end to help them, we definitely need to look into that because it's important that they get it.
And make sure that the school has updated information, like a current email address.
We'll talk.
Mr. Coletta?
to address the one comment about the front door, if you go back, that's what Mr. Walker was talking about with the other project that we've been discussing since I've been on the board. It goes that far back that we're trying to get that done. Obviously, it's not done now currently because of all the other projects. I do tend to disagree with my fellow board members on a lot of topics, but the one that we really don't argue over is the safety. I've been a police officer for 18 years. The school does have one of the better safety setups than many other schools. It is definitely not perfect, but there is no perfect system. Like they said, I have family members that are students that attend here. They were in school today too. It's hard when you want to know the information, and certain information that wasn't addressed also is because the topics have other people's names in it, they can only speak to certain things without the threat of lawsuits from the students' families and the other individuals who are named in the post itself as well. So it's important to know that it is, while you want more information, sometimes they can't. And the school is one of the safest schools, so there's not really much else that can be done at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Coletta. Anybody else?
I want to just thank Ms. Soto because I appreciate her coming here and giving us actual, points at specific things that we can do better and being part of the solution, not the problem. I truly appreciate that. I really do.
Thanks to everyone who's attendance here. And we, as board members, we understand, and I think all of us have kids here, or we know somebody, we know children, students in the school, and we get it. It's scary. This is really scary, but I want the community to know that it's being handled, in the best way possible. We should feel confident that our whole team, including the police department, including our security, that they're keeping on top of things and they're vigilant, they're hyper vigilant. So,
Madam President, one more thing. Somebody spoke about the shooting at Tech. A shooting like that, folks, no matter how many security measures you have, it can happen anywhere. You have to look at what Tech did well in that situation. You know what they did well? They caught the suspect who did it immediately. They recovered the handgun, and the person responsible was immediately brought to justice. And that's the type of rapid response we look for here in Hilton. And we have put measures in place to have that type of response here as well. I just want to point that out.
And just to chime on that, and everything that happened at Tech happened in the parking lot. It's like over 50 feet away from the building. So it was like.
okay. Anything
Madam
else?
President?
Yes.
Can I just,
yes.
so just to Mrs. Soto's remarks, this has come up before in board meetings where people have mentioned they were able to just come into the school. I don't know how busy it is. Maybe it's a little bit of a different dynamic in the morning when all the kids are coming in. I've never actually been there at that time, but just reiterating, every time I've probably been to the school 24 times, and every time I've gone in, I've had to go to that security desk. I couldn't get into the school without funneling through that portion and getting my ID taken and, getting the sticker with the ID. I would just say whenever you hear, or if you ever see a situation where somebody's able to gain access to the school without having had to check in with the security guard, alert the school immediately, send a message to the administration, to Mr. Waka. And, we'll always try to continuously improve that process, and it'll definitely be improved, as Mike mentioned to, as Commissioner Coletta alluded to, with the construction project that will follow our school addition with the security vestibule in the front. Over.
Thanks, Mr. Abbasi.
Madam President, that's a great point by Mr. Abbasi. Just this board has actually gotten rid of our security companies in the past because it was brought to our attention that a specific security guard wasn't doing the job properly. Mr. Walker and his team investigated it. Guess what? That security officer was gone. We take this very serious. But if we don't know about it, we can't do anything about it. So it's important that you bring these concerns forward. Mr. Walker and his team will do an internal investigation. If it's deemed that the security person at the front desk is not up to par, it will be addressed.
Right.
You know, so we have to take that into consideration as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just.
Yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
Mr. Martinez.
Just want to say that I'm grateful that these things happen, although they're not the best news to kind of talk about, because it does keep us on our toes.
Yes.
Right, and it also opens up different scenarios so that we can work on getting better. When things like this don't happen or are not talked about, it's out of sight, out of mind. So although obviously we don't want shootouts, obviously we don't want any of that, but the fact that we had some type of spectacle or something going on that's bringing the attention of everybody, instead of just saying, hey, what they did wrong, we don't know. Nothing was done wrong because nothing has happened. So let's take a look at the bigger picture, right? Obviously, the things have been taken care of so that nothing happens to our kids.
Madam President, I just have one last
Thank you,
thing.
Ms. Martinez. Yep.
I want to express to the community. If the community feels that we need another security guard at the front, or even if we need another school resource officer at the school, if that's what we work for the people. If that's what the people want, and it's not, oh, so-and-so told me, you know, true facts. If the people want another security guard at the front desk, or perhaps even another SRO, that can be considered by the board. We can look at our budget, you know, we can look at how we impact taxes. And if we have to make that call, then that's something we can consider. So please, if that's something that the community is advocating for another security guard and or another school resource officer, you know, please come forward and we can consider that as well.
Sure. Thank you. So there was the person who was trying to speak before, apparently they could not unmute themselves, but they messaged their question. So I'm going to read it. I wanted to know, what is the protocol for getting metal detectors put in? So I don't know that that's on the table, but I don't know, does Mr. Waka has any thought into that? I mean, that's not really, I don't believe that's on the table.
It's an option that this district could look to pursue in a future budget, but it's something that we want to do, and I'd have to see real good reason why it would be the best thing for us. I can see why people might say maybe we should do this, but I don't have any data that would suggest that it would solve any specific problem. It would be something we'd have to budget for, because I'm sure it'd be staffing and materials. So right now, it's not something that's being considered the short term or long term.
Yeah, and I would add too that that's something that the board would definitely want to weigh in on. You know, I don't know that, as Mr. Waka said, that there's any evidence that we should have that, and there's a lot of other implications. So, you know, that would have to be something that would be discussed, you know, by the board as well, if that came up as a recommendation at some point. But thank you, and I hope that answers your question. Okay, so board members, anything else? Okay, so can I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
So moved by Mr. Motzko, seconded by Mr. Martinez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much for coming out, and have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.